So welcome. This is a webinar done as part of a series of already existing webinar. And the major theme of this webinar is describing the life, the opportunities that we got, or the opportunities that I got to have won an admission and master's scholarship in Sweden. My name is Amaraizu, and I'm sharing my journey with you. And tonight I want to say welcome, and in Swedish we say välkommen. I hope I got that right. So in this peculiar discussion, we want to talk about the topic captioned Acing your aces. And that sounds sweet to my ears, you know, and I hope it also sounds sweet to your ears. But the simple truth is this: essay writing, when it comes to scholarships and opportunities, are not always easy. They require work, they require dedication, they require strategy, they require a whole lot of things. So it's not about just sitting down and writing whatever comes to your mind. It's not about language. It's not about knowing how to speak English or write in English. It is about strategy, about technique, about being well informed. So with that realization, this webinar is very relevant to anyone who is seeking for opportunity for growth. Opportunities in form of scholarships, opportunity in form of fellowships, and opportunities in form of any academic or scholarly related space. So we have a guest who is going to take us through this discussion. Her name is Paola, Dr. Paola Padilla. She is currently a master's student of Public Health Sciences, Health Promotion and Prevention track in Karolinska Institute, Stockholm, Sweden. She is a recipient of the prestigious SI Scholarship, and she is also the vice chairperson of Network of Future Global Leaders for Karolinska Institute. Like mentioned earlier, she's a medical doctor who graduated from, I hope you can see the name written, because I don't want to bite my tongue trying to pronounce some Spanish names, you know. So she's not Spanish, but her language is Spanish.
Name now.
So at this point, I welcome everyone. I welcome all the participants, and I think Dr. Paola will be the best person to pronounce this name that is here that I'm unable to pronounce. So I'll be handing over to her. Welcome, Dr. Paola.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I know Spanish is hard, but I'm originally from Honduras. So I did my Bachelor in Medicine and Surgery there in the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Honduras. I know it's hard pronunciation, but thank you. I'm really excited to be here and share with you some tips for you to ace your essays. Well, before I start, I do want to get to know you a little bit better. So I would like for you guys to write in the chat, where are you from? You can write in the chat the country from where you are right now, just to get to know a little bit more of you. All right. Nigeria, good. Ethiopia, okay. Nice, 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 nice. Ghana. Okay, Sudan, Tanzania. All right, great. Awesome, awesome. Now, I would like to ask you another question. Where are you guys planning to apply? Is it just to Sweden, or are you guys planning to apply somewhere else as well? So you can write in the chat if you're trying to apply to another country. Is it for Chevening, I mean UK, Germany, or just to Sweden? Okay, we have one answer in Sweden. Okay. Sweden, Sweden. Sweden and the US. Okay. Germany, UK. All right. Awesome. Chevening. All right. So what we're going to learn today, it will help you for your applications, not only to Sweden, but to other scholarships as well. So we're in a good starting point. Now, I want you to use the reaction buttons, the thumbs up or the clap. And I want to ask you, is this your first time applying to Sweden? If it is your first time, please use the thumbs up. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3. All right. Yeah. Well, you're in the right place. So I'm really glad that you're here today and that it is your first time. So this will save you not making a second application, and hopefully you'll be here on your first try. All right. We're going to start this session, and I want to try to explain to you why it is so important to this writing stage. Why is it so important? So Genius, would you please turn to the next slide? Yes. So why is it important, this writing stage? Well, I can give you several reasons. There are many, but I'm just going to give you 3. The first one, it is important for your career. Genius, would you please press the button? Okay, it is very important for your career. It is very important for when you are trying to do networking, especially here in Sweden, or if you go to the UK, to Norway, to other places. You would see that everywhere you go, you'll find people asking you, why did you decide to do this master's program? They will ask you, do you have a vision? Do you have a plan? And I can testify of this, and I'm sure Genius can say the same as well. Wherever you go, you'll have people asking the same things you're writing on your essays. Why? Why did you decided to choose this university? So you'll get many of these questions. So it is important for you to focus on your writing stage, because it will make everything else just go smoother. Today, we're going to divide this talk in 4 parts. The first one is about knowing about ourselves. The second one, writing your motivation letter for the university. The third one, writing your essays for scholarship programs. And the fourth one, we're going to talk about the Swedish Institute Scholarship for Global Professionals. So when we're trying to express some of the things that are especially from us or in a personal level, we talk about our skills. So you need to ask yourselves, what skills do I have? And we can divide skills in 2 ways. We have hard skills, which are related to specific and technical knowledge that you gain in your bachelor's or in other training programs. These are teachable abilities that you learn. And we have the soft skills, which are also called people skills. And some of them can be leadership, it can be communication, it can be time management, it can be active listening. Those are soft skills. And here you need to ask yourself, Are there any activities where I have participated that show these skills? So I want you to take a few seconds to think about some of the hard skills that you have and some of the soft skills that you have. And if you have access to a laptop, to a computer, open your browser, and I want you to go to menti.com, and you will introduce a code that I'm going to share right now in the chat. So I just share the code. It's 9779573. So once you introduce the code in Menti, it will ask you to please write 4 skills. You can write more than 4, and just introduce them, and we're going to create a word cloud, and I'm going to share this word cloud with you so that you can get an idea of the soft skills some of you have and some hard skills that some of you have. So please take a few seconds and introduce those skills in the Menti. Are you able to open the Menti? Remember, hard skills, I mean, it can be if you're interested in engineering or developing softwares, you have many hard skills. What do you mean by Menti? Okay, go to menti.com and introduce the code that I just shared, 9779573, and there write some of the soft skills and some of the hard skills. It may be some that you have, or it may be simply some that come up in your mind, and we're going to create a word cloud with that. But you need to open your browser and go to menti.com. Okay, we have a few now that are introducing. Great. Okay, I'm going to share the screen so that you can see as well. So here you can see some of the skills that you have. For example, you mentioned leadership a lot. That's great. That's a soft skill. You can see communication, psychiatric consultation, okay. Project management, time management, research studies, public speaking, great. Negotiation, teaching, advocacy, web design, great. This is great. Emotional intelligence, of course, very important soft skill. Quick learner, okay. You're ambitious, market research, that's great. So what we just did was create a word cloud with some of the soft skills and hard skills that you have. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing now. And we will go back to the presentation. So when you try to know a little bit more about yourself, yes, you ask about your skills, also ask about your strengths, your weaknesses. Those are some things that you're going to be interviewed about. But another thing that's important is to evaluate your past and ask yourself, in what activities have I been involved? And for the Swedish Institute, one of the skills that they will assess in you is your leadership skill. So you need to ask yourself, have I been in any leadership position? Go one slide before, Genius, please. Okay, you need to ask yourself, have you been in any leadership position, or do you have right now a leadership position? And if you don't worry, yeah? There's always a chance that you can improve, and it is a great moment to start today and improve. And you need to get involved, please, yes? So you can evaluate your past, but if you don't have any leadership position, it doesn't matter. Remember that today is a good day to start, so get involved. And if you feel like you don't have any experience, it is not a problem at all. As I said before, it is a great time to start. And a great starting point can be learning a little bit more about the Sustainable Development Goals. You can Google them. You will see that there are 17 SDGs. And this is the agenda for 2030 that we are trying to meet. And each goal has different targets, depending on the field that you have. If it's health, if it's about engineering, maybe you're in politics, there's a goal for every field. So please search for them, look at the targets. And if you can become familiarized with an organization in your own country that's working with the SDGs, please do so. Get involved, volunteer in that place if you can, because it will give you merits once you're trying to apply for scholarships. Now we're moving on to the second part of this talk, and we're going to talk about structuring your writing. So in this first part, we're going to talk about your motivation letter. I like dividing my motivation letter in different sections. 3 or 4 sections. In this first section, or your first paragraph, I would like you to include the aspects that you see in the slide. What made you choose this path? That's the first thing you have to answer in the first paragraph. You might also want to consider one of the problems that are, or one of the issues that are in your country that you want to address in your master's program. And please include some data, include percentages, include how many people are affected. The third aspect you need to include, what is your solution? Are you part of the solution? And the fourth aspect is, how is this problem linked to the program that you want to study? So I'm going to give you one example, and this is what I wrote for Karolinska. Try not to copy what I'm writing here, because that's called plagiarism. And you will see that if you copy, everything that you write in your essays, in your applications for scholarship, they are run by some softwares. And if they detect that you're plagiarizing, then it's probably that you're not going to get a scholarship. So this is what I wrote for Karolinska Institutet in my motivation letter. You'll see that in the first part, I am sharing what made me choose the path. Then I'm talking about some issues that we have in our country. You can see that I include some data about the number of cases we had of dengue. I talked about the NCDs. I'm mentioning that I have about 66.5% of deaths in Honduras due to the NCDs. And then I talk about prevention. How is it linked to the program that I want to study? You can see that in my last sentence. So this is the first section. Try to introduce the aspects that we just saw in your first section. Yes. Now in the second section, or your second paragraph, you might want to consider to give more details about why you chose this specific university. Then what do you expect to learn from the program you're choosing? And I cannot make enough emphasis. Make sure you invest time researching well your university and your program. Because if you don't make the right research, you can be very miserable in a program that you didn't really want to study. Try to look at the courses of your program. See if there's any specific course that you're really interested, or maybe you want to meet one of the lecturers, one of the people who are making research in your university. Try to research as much as you can about the program. And if you find maybe some student ambassadors of your program and you find an email that you can contact them, then do so. Please do so. It is very important. Trust me. So this is my second paragraph, my second section. You can see that I give some reasons why I'm choosing Karolinska Institute in specific. I mentioned some of the courses of the public health program that I am interested in, especially from the health promotion and prevention track. And how am I going to use the knowledge that I'm gaining, and how can I apply it later on? So this is my second section of my motivation letter. As I told you before, we can have 3 sections or you can have 4 sections. And if you're just gonna have 3 sections, then you can wrap it up in the 3rd paragraph. And how do you close your motivation letter? Well, that will depend on what the university asks for. You would see, for example, I tried to apply for public health at Lund University, and it's very different, the format they use. They only ask 2 questions. They don't ask you to make an essay. They only ask 2 questions and you need to answer those 2 questions. For Karolinska, they do ask for you to write an essay, and they specifically say that and ask for you to answer this: why are you a good candidate? So the 3rd paragraph or the 3rd section will depend on what the university asks you, how to wrap it up. Okay, all right. Now, these are some questions that I'm sharing with you that I would really like you to answer. Not right now, but that you can write them. Maybe if you have a notebook, a piece of paper, write them and answer them, because they will help you to get started with your motivation letter. So if you're applying to Sweden, try to ask, why am I applying to Sweden? Is it something about the culture? Do you find that innovation is really great here? Is it you're trying to launch maybe a project? Why do you want to study in Sweden? Another question you might want to ask is, why this specific university? Why Karolinska? Why Lund? Why Umeå? Why Stockholm University? Or if you're planning to go to KTH, why? Then the 3rd thing you need to ask yourself is why this specific program? Like I told you before, make a good research about the program, about the university. It will make it easier for you to start your essays. Are you interested in one of the courses on the program? Any research fields that you might be interested in? Are there any projects, innovations the university is working on that interest you? Or maybe you have a project you want to launch, but you need to structure better. And that's why you're applying to Sweden. Or if you're applying to UK, Netherlands, Germany, or the US, you must have a clear idea of why you're applying. You must have a clear motivation. Now we're moving to the third section of this talk. And this is our application to the scholarship program. It doesn't matter if you're applying to Sweden or if you're applying to UK or to the US, Germany, whichever country, they will ask you the same. How do you plan to apply the knowledge you gain in this country? How do you plan to apply it once you go back to your country? This is what they want to know. Your plans, your vision. Do you have a mission? Do you have a vision in mind? And if you do, it doesn't matter how crazy it might sound. If it's your dream, if it's your vision, don't be afraid to express it in your essays. And third, which is very important, it has to be true to you so that others can identify with it. Moving on. When you are writing your applications to scholarship programs, it is a mix of the information that you have already plotted in the motivation letter. For example, why did you choose the university you choose? Why did you choose the program did you choose? But then they want you to answer, how do you plan to apply this knowledge in your own country? And for this, you have to have a clear idea of your goals, a clear idea of what you want and what you plan to do with the knowledge that you're going to gain. So basically, this is it when you're trying to apply for scholarship programs. When you're applying for the Swedish Institute Scholarship for Global Professionals, they only ask 2 questions in your letter. They will ask, describe how you can apply the knowledge, see, how you can apply the knowledge and experience gained from your time in Sweden, in your organization, company, your home country, your region, upon your return from Sweden. And you see, you only get 1,000 characters because they are trying to assess if you really know what you want. So if you have a clear idea of what you want, why you choose the program, and how you're going to apply this, this is going to be easier for you to answer in 1,000 characters. And the second thing they're going to ask you to answer is to please choose one master's program you applied. You have up to 4, but they ask you only to choose one, and to motivate how this program can contribute to the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So as I told you before, you need to get acquainted with the Sustainable Development Goals, search them, take a look at them, look at the targets, and make sure that the vision you have aligns with one of the SDGs. It can be one, it can be several, but if you're trying to apply to the Swedish Institute, then you have to align them to the SDGs. And you can see that in the second question, you only get 800 characters, which is even less. So you have to have a clear idea of what you want to answer these questions. Once you apply to the SI, you will download several documents, and I truly recommend you to go through them, like the whole application, because you will find some interesting things that if you don't read them, then you're not going to get them. For example, this is one of the paragraphs that's written in one of the forms, and it says, you must provide 2 different letters of reference. One can be based on your work experience, and the second one can be based on, it can still be from your work, it can be an academic reference, but pay attention to this. However, it will be a merit if the second letter of reference is based on your involvement in networks or civil society organizations outside of your regular work. So this is a merit. That's why I asked you in the beginning, if you don't have right now a leadership position, or maybe you're not in an organization that's supporting the 2030 agenda, try to look for a place where you can volunteer. It can be a civil society organization, it can be an NGO, it can be different things, and can be even in your university. But try that it is related to the SDGs, because now your application to SI has to be related with the SDGs. There's another form, which is the leadership experience form. And here I'm showing you a section of the form. You can see that it asks for your personal details, but they are going to ask you for the name of the company, the organization where you're working, the position, but pay close attention that it is the position the applicant holds or held during a leadership experience. They will ask you the time period you were in it, the type of work you did there, how many hours you worked there or you volunteered. And they ask you about the main leadership responsibility. And they're going to give you a list where you are going to have to choose how was it related with the work you were doing in the organization and the specific tasks that you did there. So if you don't have right now a leadership experience, like I said before, this is a great time for you to start. And I really encourage you to start to motivate yourself to engage with the SDGs, because it is important. And everywhere you go, if you mention the SDGs and your vision aligns with the SDGs, it'll be better for you. It'll be easier. It'll go smoother. And at last, once you're finished with your essays, with your motivation letter for the university, with your application for the Swedish Institute, check your grammar. You don't want to have mistakes on your applications. Like I said before, avoid plagiarism, because they do run your essays through some softwares and they check if you're plagiarized or not. And please ask for feedback to somebody you trust. If you're going to be sharing your essays, it has to be with somebody you trust. You don't want another person to copy what you have written and put so much effort in. Because then if somebody else presents your work, then they're going to think that one of you has been plagiarizing and maybe none of you will get the scholarship. So if you're going to ask for feedback, please ask to somebody you trust. I want to share this thought, this final thought with you. Be yourself in the whole application. In the application you're trying to make to the university, be yourself. In the application you want to try to the SI, be yourself. Because people would rather follow a leader who is always real than one who is always right. And this is from the leadership podcast from Craig Rochelle. And if you're interested in leadership, I really recommend you to listen to this podcast. It's really great. So I hope that you learned something today and that I gave you many tips so that you can implement. And I'm pretty sure that if you implement them, not just to apply to SI, if you're planning to apply to Chevening, they will help you as well, very well. So it was a real honor to be today with you and share these tips.
This has been a wonderful 30 minutes presentation. I don't know how you did it. You calculated that this would be exactly 30 minutes. Thank you so very much, Dr. Paola. And please, she has shared a lot of insights, a lot of bullet points, even to the extent that surprisingly to me, she showed you what she did, you know. And some people are already asking for more in the chat box. That's not fair. So please, if you have any question, kindly drop it on the chat box so that she can react to it immediately. But in case you have no question and maybe your question comes later, you can always reach out to her through me. So,
there is a question. Yeah, it says, can you share your leadership experience when you applied to SISGP so we can, oh, let me see. Oh, I lost it.
That question is asking for your documents, which isn't right. So you have to skip that.
No, there's a question before. It says, can you share your leadership experience when you applied to SISGP so we can know how to align with SDGs? Okay, with the leadership form, I had a leadership position at the place where I was employed. I was a clinic director. So I used that as my experience because I had to lead 2 teams in the health sector. What else? It's about your leadership. If you're leading a team of people, you have to communicate. If you have to do some problem solving or conflict resolutions, you just plot that in the tasks that you do. I also was a group facilitator in my community, so that as well helped me to fill the leadership experience form. I made my application last year with SI, and I was not able to make it despite of getting an admission at Lund. Could you say something about the CV document? Well, I remember when I applied to Lund, they only asked 2 questions, at least for the program that I was trying to get in, which was public health. But you got your admissions to Lund, but you didn't get your admissions to the SISGP. So you need to check, for example, if the leadership experience that you had was aligned with the SDGs. You need to check again your essay. I mean, the 2 questions that they ask you to answer. Does your vision is aligned with the Agenda 2030? Do you know how you are going to apply the knowledge that you gain in your program once you go back to your country? That's what they want to know, actually. Let's see. I have been working towards 2 related SDGs. Can I reflect them in my essay or just one? Which essay? The one for the university or the one for the SI? Because if you want to talk about 2, while you're applying for the Swedish Institute Scholarship, remember you only get 1,000 characters. So it will be better if you just stick to 1 because of the space you get. Let's see. I was recruited by my company A as a contract staff and deployed to company B as bank, where I worked for 8 years. My offer letter is on company's A letterhead, but they don't know much about my job functions at company B. Can I get my... Wait. Can I get my work reference letter from company B where I am more familiar with the manager and put the bank's name as my employer since they can vouch for my activities more? Well, when you're trying to apply for the SI, they're going to give you their own format. They're not going to ask for the company's format. They're going to give you a form, and this form needs to be signed by your employer. It has to be stamped as well by the company. So you can do it with company B if you prefer. I left the bank a year ago. Since then, I have been doing personal business to date, which doesn't relate. Well, for the CV part, they do ask about your experience, but if it's not relevant to what you're trying to apply, I don't think you should mention it.
Okay, there's the next question says, can I use my church leadership as leadership experience?
Yes, do so. I mentioned about my group facilitator activities in my community. And if that's your leadership experience, perfect, you can do it. So don't worry about that. I use that as well to apply to SI.
This one says, I've been working as a volunteer with Moon Impact, that's Model United Nations Impact Nigeria. However, the problem I intend to solve is not in line with my volunteering experience and leadership experience. What do you have to say about that?
Well, your activity at MUN, you can use it as your leadership experience, but the other essay about how are you going to apply the knowledge that you are going to gain in Sweden doesn't necessarily need to be related with your volunteering experience. It only talks about how you're going to apply the knowledge that you are going to gain in Sweden from your master's program, how you're going to apply it in your home country.
Okay.
So you don't have to mention your volunteering there.
Another question says, if I have participated in an SI program previously, does it have any influence on the scholarship?
I don't think so.
Okay, that was straight. Someone here says, I'm also a physician seeking to pursue a career in public health. Are there any specific challenges or advantages when applying from a clinical background?
I wouldn't say so. I also come from a clinical background, but they will take into the consideration whatever you plot on your motivation letter. I mean, they want to know why you want to study public health. What make you choose the path and what's your vision? What do you want to do with your Masters of Public Health in your country? So it doesn't matter if you have a clinical background. I have a lot of people in my program with a clinical background that they are doing currently public health. So if you can motivate that and plot it well, it doesn't matter. I'm sure you can get the position.
Okay, the next one says, I'm in the health space, but I have volunteering experience in a non-profit space focused in SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. Can I use this for SI application?
Yes. When you're applying to SI, remember, one thing is apply to the university and another thing is applying to SI. So when you're applying to SI, they're going to ask about how the work you've done is related to the SDGs. It doesn't matter which SDGs you choose, as long as it is aligned to one of them. It might be number 10, number 3, number 9. It doesn't matter, as long as you have one at least that is aligned to the 2030 agenda.
Then another question here it says, I want to ask about the CV templates. Some say it needs to align with motivation letter and SDGs. What do you have to say?
Okay, to apply to the SI, yes. Yeah. The CV template, I mean, you need to go over it, but the CV template, once it asks about your experience, your work experience, there are like some specific options that you can choose. to which SDGs it is related. Because they are trying to look for leaders that are pursuing SDGs in your home country. Now I get your question. I finally get your question. Yes, please try that the work experience that you have is aligned to an SDG, because I think they changed it in the application for last year in 2019. It has to be related to an SDG, unfortunately. Yeah.
So the next question says, is research publication prior to applying to Master of Public Health in Karolinska mandatory?
No. Don't get scared about the application to Karolinska. Trust me, I think that about half of my class has no research or publications. So don't be scared about that. You just apply. Make a good motivation letter. Yeah.
So this one says, who will fill leadership experience form for me? Okay, who will fill leadership experience form?
The organization where you are.
He or he should fill it themselves or the organization.
Okay, you can fill like some of the spaces, for example, your data, your tasks, but it has to be signed and stamped by the organization. I mean, they are going to say, oh yeah, this is the task she's doing here. So you can fill it in your computer, but then it has to be signed and stamped by your organization.
So, and the next one says, is MOOC certificates an age for an application? That is massive open online courses. Those who take online courses, those certificates, is that an age for an application?
Maybe for the university.
Okay.
They might be an edge for your application for the university, but SI, it's all about leadership. That's what they're assessing you in.
And the next one says, how recent should your relevant experience be, especially in leadership, to be considered valid? How recent should it be?
How recent? I don't know. I think in the form, it only says from what year to what year you were in that position. So I don't think it matters if it was 3 years ago. What counts is how many hours you were working in that position as a leader.
So we have another question here. So this one says, I got to be a managing director in an NGO just recently in October. Do you think the time frame for leadership experience will meet up in terms of hours?
Okay, you need to go through the amount of hours they ask. I don't remember how many hours they ask of leadership experience.
Is 2,000 hours for leadership. For work experience, 3,000 hours. Okay,
so if you have 2,000 hours of leadership, I mean, it can be from one position, it can be from your volunteering in different organizations. You just make sure that you meet the 2,000 hour requirement.
Okay, at this point, questions are still coming in. If we keep taking all the questions, we might do more than an hour, and this shouldn't be so long. So we'll take this last one. It says, does volunteering in an online organization count?
I don't know how to answer that question. We need to ask the Swedish Institute about it.
I think it counts because this is a technology age, you know. So if you did some works, you can prove. You have to prove your leadership experience. So if you can prove that, of course, you did this work with these people, but it was online. This is what you did. This is what you didn't do. It counts. It's about you proving it.
Yes,
that's what I think. Even though that they didn't make any specificity on this.
Yeah, just make sure that somebody draws a signature on your form and stamps it, because you need to have both of them, a signature and a stamp from the organization.
So many questions are coming in. This one says, being a leader in a medical students association, working in a health promotion, is that suitable for leadership experience?
Yes, of course. It's related to SDG number 3, well-being.
Okay, I'll just take this one quickly. It says, does leadership experience have to align with your program, your master's program of study?
No, it does not. I mean, as I said before, they have like a list with the 17 SDGs, and you just place like the activities you've been involved, and then you just choose from the list to which SDG it is related. It doesn't necessarily has to be related with your bachelor's degree. As long as it is related to one SDG, it's fine.
Okay, at this point, we want to say to our guests, thank you so very much. Thank you very, very much. We will not be able to take more questions. We will not be able to take more questions, and we all know why.
Yeah, hopefully I answered a lot of your concerns, your questions, and please implement what you learned today in your essays, in your applications, and don't be discouraged if you don't have leadership experience. I mean, you can start today. Look for the SDGs, look for the targets, and look for organizations where you can be involved and start. So it's a good day to start.
Yeah, it's never too late to start. So once again, thank you so very much to our guests. Dr. Paola, thank you very much. And the audience, we had a lot of persons who were part of this brief event. We are grateful that you had the time to be part of this and listen to us. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah,
Thank
that's a
you
pleasure.
very, very much.
Thank you.